Good afternoon. I'm Lisbeth Mate. I work for Marwell Wildlife, and I'll be talking about the community-led monitoring to safeguard the Grevy zebra in the northern Kenya. I wish I could bring my whole team here because I'll be talking about a very difficult time that we experienced between 2021 and 2023, and the people in the area that we work in, South Hall, were instrumental in reducing the impact that would have been, and without them, this work would not have been possible. Yeah. So a little bit about where we work. So the map on the left is northern Kenya. Work is between two counties, Marsabit and Samburu County, and the general area would call it South Hall. For scale, our area is about 22,000 kilometers squared, which is very large, and it's a very remote area. And we operate in what we call stations, 11 of them, and we have community scouts who work here. So the area we work in is not a protected area, it's all community land, and the wildlife roam freely and interact with the communities. So the organization I work with, we mostly work with endangered species. The Kenyan program is conserving the Grevy zebra specifically. And at the moment, we have less than 3,000 of these wildlife in the wild, and they're mostly in Kenya and in Ethiopia. And right now, the challenge that we are facing is developmental pressures, livestock competition, habitat loss, and climate change. So these are the people that we work with. We have 24 scouts, 5 of them are women. And this is important because in the area we work in, we find that it's highly patriarchal, and it has taken some time for the women to be embraced as part of the solution in conservation. Initially, when we started working, it was difficult for the women to take part even in our meetings because traditionally they're not even allowed to speak where men are present. But over time, we found that changing. They are pastoralist community. And so how we have used SMART in this area is by integrating data collection into their daily lives because they walk every day their livestock. So we ask them as they're patrolling that they spend a little bit of time every day using the phones that we've given them to collect data and help us. So we go out, we train them, and that's how they have all this data that I'm going to show here is collected by them. So just a little bit about the challenges we experienced when we started using SMART, and some of them still continue, but top was literacy. The community there don't read, don't write, but this has improved over time because we've introduced a literacy program, but that was a big challenge when we introduced SMART to them. There's also network connectivity. We find that even when we want to reach them, they have no network. We have now Smart Connect, and with Smart Connect, this has really helped our work. But you find that even with that, some of these areas can only send us data once a week during the market days. So we've had to embrace some of those challenges and work with them. Again, the landscape is harsh and vast, and also they have issues with inter-community conflict that has sometimes affected our work, and recently the drought. Notwithstanding these challenges, we have still been able to overcome and to work with what's on the ground. So one of the biggest things we did was to iconize the configurable model. And we had to iconize every single item that is there because of the literacy challenge. And as a result, we found that the data they have collected is more quality. They actually understand what it is that they are collecting. And with the literacy program, some of them have been able to improve their counting. They can read their names. Even their names we had to have a photo of the person because they could not read their name so that they could select the name. Then we've also invested a lot on continuous training and giving feedback on a monthly basis. So we talk to them every week on the phone for those who are able to reach on the phone. And also we go there once a month. It's quite a distance. From where I live to the field is about 600 kilometers. And for the field assistants, it's about 250 kilometers. So they go once a month and they give them the feedback. We do the reports on a monthly basis and they give them feedback. They verify the information, and then we are able to actually use that data. The data becomes useful for us, and we're able to make decisions together with them that help the environment. So I'll talk a little bit about the data they collect. It's not a lot of data, but this has been happening from 2017. So specifically, I'll talk about the wildlife monitoring data and how it helped us. during the drought. So between 2021 and 2023, we had a severe drought. It was hardest in the year 2022. And we used the data that the scouts had been collecting to specifically understand where the Grevy zebra were coming to, so that we could know how to focus the resources that we had to support them. So that and the camera trap data. So we find because they're not literate, they cannot also use GPS units. So we've embedded the camera trapping information in SMART in such a way that when they set up a camera trap, they can record on the phone the camera number, and now we can georeference it. So we're able to go through those images and see where the Grevy zebra were concentrating, and to understand their body condition and do like a preliminary assessment. It was said that the situation was dire, and we needed some intervention, especially for lactating females and their foals, because they needed to go to the water sources frequently, and they had to travel long distances, and they were not able to make it. So with the preliminary assessment, we sought permission from the Kenya Wildlife Service. They are the custodians of wildlife in our country, and they gave us permission, as another organization called Grevy Zebra Trust. They gave us permission to do supplementary hay feeding, just to intervene in the situation. And this just shows us a few photos of the camera traps and the wildlife they were able to capture. The photograph in the middle shows the Grevy zebra drinking water. It looks like a nice photo, but in actual sense, it just showed how desperate the Grevy zebra are. If you understand their behavior, Grevy zebra do not interact with people. They drink at night when the livestock have gone, when there are no people around. But the situation was so bad that they needed to come and drink water at any time possible. We hired some hay monitors who came from the community who came to do this work. I was in Nairobi, and the rest of the people on the ground were doing this very important work. You can even see that the elephants were beneficiaries of this. So how did the data help us? Over here on my left, you can see the data that we collect in SMART. For the Grevy zebra in particular, we want to understand their demography. So we want to know where the lactating females are and the foals specifically. When we're able to understand, these teams, they represent the stations. So we're able to understand where the Grevy zebra were being seen, and the camera trap data verified this. So this information helped us to select 4 areas where we did the supplementary hay feeding. That's Anderi, Lonjorin, Kargi, and Loltepes. Majority of the feeding took place in these 2 areas, Anderi and Lonjorin. And we fed the highest numbers in 2022. We used about 2,300 bales of hay to support the Grevy zebra. And we fed about 98 Grevy zebra across those 3 years. Those numbers, they may not seem high, about 98 Grevies or 100 Grevies, but considering that there are only 3,000 in the wild, we couldn't afford to lose any of them, even if some were actually lost. We lost about 5% of the population during that time, and we did our best to recover as much as we could. So what's been the outcome since then? So we stopped feeding in early 2023, the first quarter of 2023, and we've continued to monitor the situation. What we found is, if you look at the graph over here, we had started to see less Grevy zebra. The scouts were not seeing the Grevy zebra, but from after 2022, those numbers have started increasing. This information is what has been collected in SMART. So the numbers have been increasing, and even in 2024, we were able to have about 189 observations of the Grevy zebra. The body condition also improved. During the assessments, the body condition of the Grevy zebra was about between 2 and 2.5. Now we have them about 3.5. And you can see that we had a ground sensors last year, and the numbers we see are encouraging compared to the other years. And this was all due to the interventions by the communities in supporting the hay feeding program. A reflection of what SMART has enabled us to do and what people have enabled us to do. For us, we have learned that technology must fit the people using it. Initially, we came up with a very complicated configurable model, and when we took it to the scouts, it was completely useless. And we've had to really downsize, and it's taken us many years to be able to collect information that we feel is actually accurate. The local knowledge actually turns the data into action. Even with the data in SMART, we had to go on the ground, sensitize communities, work alongside them to support our work. So I would summarize this by saying that technology alone doesn't save a species, it's people who do. And by using tools that match our scouts' context and by valuing their local knowledge, we've made data collection meaningful and actionable. And it showed us that even in the most challenging landscapes, that data and people together can make conservation work. Thank you very much.